Hey yo, it's your boy Codehova from Combinator. Let's continue on with iOS Hustla. Let's now implement what we learned about the UI table view, the data source, and the delegate. Alright, and just for fun, let's knock this shit out. Because we already did that. Now we're going to actually do the work. So this is the previous project. Let's just create a new one. And I'm going to just tell you this about creating this project, working on table views. If you don't get how to do this, following this step by step, like you should be doing this implementation while you're watching me. Like just see how I do it step by step. And I need you to do this. You might have to do it 5 times. You might have to do it 10 times, maybe even 20. But you need to have this process down. All right. So this is 01, 14 or 15. Yeah, super messy. I know, man. So this one is 14. Well, let's just go with 15. Let's just go with 15. Table views. And this one's going to be the implementation. Did I spell that right? Implementation. All right, we good. We good. What does it matter, right? If there's a little typo here and there. So again, we created a new project. Let's just create it. Let's just run it. So again, you're gonna have to do, if you have 2 screens, good man. Put my video on one screen and code on the other. If you don't have 2 screens, you're gonna have to be patient, and you're gonna have to do this. You dig? You're gonna have to do this. Follow me step by step. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into the main storyboard. All right, we have this view controller. You see, if we type in table view in the object library, we're going to have these 3 options. We're going to have a table view controller, we're going to have a table view, and we're going to have a table view cell. Because we already have a view controller, we don't need this. And I always keep it so that I don't have to use this. I always create my own custom view controller with a table view in it. Okay? So you don't need to use this. If you want to use it, learn it on your own time. Google that shit. But I've never used it in my entire life. Okay? I always create my own view controllers like this and drop my table view object in it, and I configure it to however you want it. Because sometimes you might want a table view that's only half your screen. All right? You know, you only want it like this big. That's how it is sometimes. Because if you use a table view controller, you can't do that. Shit out of luck. Okay? So we drop the table view in here. What we're going to do is we're going to want to create a constraint. And this is implementation of auto layout. But we're going to go deep into auto layout, you dig? So don't worry about it now. But we're going to create constraints just like we have with putting buttons in the middle of the screen. But this time what we're going to do is we're going to constrain it. We're going to uncheck this button right here. We don't want that because we don't want to deal with margins. So let's just constrain it. 0 from the top, 0 from the leading edge, 0 from the trailing, 0 from the bottom. Add that. Sometimes it resizes, sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't resize, it's going to have an orange border on it. So you're just going to have to press Command Option, the equal sign, and it's going to resize. But here we have it. We have a table view. And what did we learn about table views being inside view controllers? It needs to have a mediator. And the mediator has to have the data source and the delegate protocols conforming to it. So that's what we need to do. So, we have selected this table view here. We could do the hold control and click on the view controller like that, and we select which one we want. Or we could click on the object itself, and then you'll be able to have these outlets that we can connect with. So we'll do it this way. Boom. So now our view controller object, our view controller class, we have set it so that the data source and the delegate of this table view is connected. All right. So let's move on. What happens next? What we need to do is we need to create an outlet. In this video with the 50 states, we don't need to have an outlet for the table view, but this is a very, very beginner example. You need to get used to doing this kind of shit. So it's just IB outlet, and you're gonna have a weak variable, and you're gonna call it table view. You can call it whatever you want, but why would you call it anything other than that? All right. So it's UI table view. So we have that outlet, but what we're gonna know is this ain't connected. I don't know why this is filled out, but if we go back to our storyboard, look at the view controller, we see that the table view is not selected. It's empty. So let's make that connection. Boom. We good. So again, we're doing this not because we need it in this example of creating the table view of 50 states, but because this is shit that you're going to always need to do in the future, because you will need to have a reference to the table view object to reload the screen when you need to and whatnot. So let's just erase this. And what else do we need to do? Let's run it. Let's run it and see what happens. Erase that line. I don't even think I need view did load right now, but let's just keep it there. All right, we have a crash. Houston, we have a problem. So what is the problem? The problem says unrecognized selector sent to instance, blah, blah, blah. Like, what the hell is that, right? Computers, dude, computers. So terminating app due to uncaught exception, invalid argument exception. The reason being that number of rows in section. So this function caused a crash. Number of rows in section. Yeah, you got to be able to look at these errors, these crashes, and be like, what must be missing, right? What is missing? So the best hint we have right now is that number of rows in section is the function that caused the crash. So what if we remember number of rows in section? Oh, right. So it's the UI table view data source. But let's think about it. On our storyboard, we have made sure that the data source is connected. Okay, so this is the thing. Sure, you connected it through the storyboard, but now we have to make sure that our view controller class adopts that protocol. And how we adopt that protocol is we append it to the list. Right now, our view controller is a subclass of the UI view controller. That's cool. But now with protocols, we have to add those declarations at the end. Those conformances, I think that's the word. But UI table view data source. Boom. There you have it. But remember, not only data source, but the delegate. The delegate of a UI table view, which we made our view controller to be, must adopt the UI table view delegate protocol. So we're going to add the UI table view delegate. So if we run it, let's see what happens. It doesn't run. It fails. And the error is that type view controller, which is this class, does not conform to protocol UI table view data source. Okay. I wish it would tell me what exact functions are missing, but you're going to work with table view so much that you're going to know that the two functions that is required on a UI table view data source protocol conformance, right, is self a row at index path and also number of rows in section. So what we're going to do is, this is a comment, right? And this is a comment where you're going to be, let's just watch. UI table view data source functions. You see, this is a comment. But when you're going to create your code, you're going to, like, it's going to get big. And when it gets big, you see, now we have a little section marker. Okay. Let's create another one. Mark, table view, delegate functions. Boom. You see, you have these two sections. So, you know, you might when you come to this file 10 days later and you need to look for a certain function, you'll be able to find it easily because as an iOS hustler, you keep your work real tidy and clean. All right. So, the two functions that are required on a data source protocol conformance is self row at index path, which we have right there. And then also we have number of rows in section. Boom. So we have that. So let's just say we want to return 10 rows. And how we create a cell is UI table view cell. And we're going to return that cell. But in the cell for the text label, we're going to say hello world. Because you always got to greet the world, you dig? So we're going to run that. There you go. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We got 10 rows because that's what we said. We're going to give it 10 rows. And for each row, we want a cell to be created. In a cell's text label, we want it to say hello world. That's what we got. So let's implement our 50 states. So, you know, it's always good for you to get work on creating this array of 50 states, but I don't want to bore you to death. So we're just going to drop that right here. So we have this constant called 50 US states with all the states. And so if we want to display the 50 states, what do we need to do? Well, first of all, instead of 10, this has to be 50. But what if we erased 1, right? Then now we have 49. How do we make sure that it always shows every single state in here? We're going to tell the system to look at our constant of 50 US states. It's not 50 US states anymore, it's 49. But that's the data. This is the data we have. We want to make sure that this view controller, it always shows every single state string that is in this array. So if we put in 50, we're going to have an issue. We're going to have an issue because it's going to show 50 cells, but it's only going to show 49 labels. So that's why we want to keep it pimping by making the computer do the hard work for us. So whatever the number of items in the 50 US states is, so let's just change this to states. States array. All right. So whatever number is in there, we want that many cells. And for each cell, we want it to say states array. And then we want to pull out a certain index of item. If you don't know how to pull out certain indexed items, if you don't know how to pull out the third item of a array of 10 or pull out the 475th item in an array of 1,000 items, you need to watch my course Pimp and Swift. All right, just go to www.pimpandswift.com. It's in the description of the YouTube video, so you can find that there. But what we're going to do is we're going to type out the index path, because when this function runs, we're able to get this parameter of index path and use it however we like. And with index path, there's rows and there's sections. There's row, there's section. We only have one section, so that section is always going to be 0. All we need is the row. And once we get the row, let's print this out as well. The state string at the index of indexPath.row is states array index path dot row. Okay, so let's run this. And there you have it. So it goes all the way down to Kentucky. So it's creating one extra so that when we do scroll, it's ready to go. But there you go. The state string at the index of 0 is Alabama, because Alabama is the first. In indexes in computer science, they start at 0. You know, index 2, which is the second item, which is index 1, is Alaska. So that's the UI table view. And just for shits and giggles, right? Let's run a delegate function. And a delegate function is row for height. Height for row? Okay, there we go. Height for row at index path. Right now we are dealing with the default size, which is 44 or 50. Don't quote me on it. Let's just make sure that it returns 66. And it has to be a CG float, so you can't make it just 6. Can you make it just 66? I know a CG float is supposed to be like a double. All right. I guess it does a calculation for you. No worries. But now we have a cell size of 66. Boom. There you go, man. It's the table view. So again, like I told you, trust me, when I started learning table views, I probably spent a whole day just doing this over and over and over, just trying to understand what it is, a data source is, what a delegate is, how to make sure that it conforms properly with the how the view controller conforms properly with the protocols of UI table view data source and UI table view delegate. So let me just do an overview. All right. So first, what we did was we dropped in the table view object into our view controller. Once we drop it in there, we made constraints of making it as tall as a screen, as wide as a screen, and we made sure that it fills the entire screen, which we could see right here. All right, align trailing, leading bottom top to the safe area. Good. And then what the next thing we did is we connected the data source protocol and the delegate protocol of the table view object to the view controller, which is right here. All right. Then we created a IB outlet for that table view. You could have done it, using the assistant editor, and you could have just dragged and dropped and created a table view that way. However you want to do it, but it's just always good practice to create an outlet for your table view. Good. Then what else did we do, yo? We went to the view controller, and then we added these protocols to the view controller class. UI table view data source, UI table view delegate. Good. Now doing this, it's going to make sure that it doesn't crash. But once you add these protocols, it's going to be like, yo, you're missing some functions that are required for the UI table view data source protocol. So then we moved down and we added these two. Cell for row at index path, number of rows in section. Good. And in the cell for row at index path function, we created a table view cell. We instantiated an instance of UI table view cell. No parameters needed. And these cells, they have detail labels. So let me just show you another given free text label on a UI table view cell. Detail. All right. Text. And what we're going to put in here is the number of string index path dot row. Okay, so we're taking a number, we're taking an integer. This is an integer, and we're going to make it into a string. All right, so let's run this, and let's see what pops. All right, so I think that this isn't popping because the table view cell accessory type. So let's do some Google Foo, man. How to show on table view cell. I think we have to change the style. All right. Init with style. So there we have it. In the table view style, we'll change it to subtitle. And we'll have no reuse identifier. And now let's run it. Don't worry too much about, using the default UI table view cell, because as a programmer, you're always going to be creating your own custom table view cells for the most part, 99% of the time. But this is how you should definitely start learning how to work with UI table views. So there you go. On the detail text label, we have the index number of our items. So if we want to change this to start from the number 1, all we need to do is +1. Easy. Easy money, man. Let's get the bag. There you go. So we got 49 states because we erased one of them. I forgot which one we erased. But there you go, man. Pimpin' Swift, iOS Hustla. It's your boy Codehova from Fly Combinator. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments. But remember, there's always Ask Me Anything live streams on Sunday, every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern. All right, y'all. Peace.